Oke, Cartens, welcome back to channel YouTube Cartens Audio Jakarta. Dan seperti biasa ya, kalau kita sudah di ruangan podcast seperti ini ya, Pedia, kita akan membahas audio mobil ya, khususnya di Indonesia dan juga pasti akan ngomongin lagi yang di luar negeri juga ya, Pedia. Dan untuk kali ini kita punya satu tamu istimewa, Pedi.
Yes, one special guest. Yeah, very long way can come to Cartens.
Dari mana tuh, Pedi? Boleh di-spill?
Maybe we'll
Oke. Dan kita juga akan membahas kali ini karena beliau ini juga punya tim yang menarik ya, Pak Edi.
Of course, he's one of the best, maybe we can say one of the best car audio installer in Australia. Oke.
Barusan udah kasih spill tuh di tempatnya di mana, dan memang beliau ini juga mempunyai apa ya, galeri atau sebutannya apa?
You can later look on the social media. You have a one workshop, and then with all the high technology for the car audio, maybe it can be one of the reference for us as the car audio installer. Nanti later we will.
Oke. Dan untuk kisi-kisinya Pak Edi, katanya ini spesialisnya Bespoke ya, Pak Edi. Sebutannya gimana, Pak Edi?
Bespoke, ya.
Bespoke. Oke, Bespoke. Dan mereka juga timnya sangat oke, juga berpengalaman tentunya, Pak Edi ya. Langsung aja kali Pak Edi kita kenalin.
Okay, we will introduce you one of our special guests is Mr. Craig.
Mr. Craig.
How are you, Mr. Craig?
Hello. Good to be back.
Nice.
So good to be back.
Yes.
The minute I walked off the plane, I knew it was good to be back, dripping with sweat, humidity.
Good to be back. Before you came here is maybe 2018, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think it's been 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years before COVID.
And I have more grey hair now.
Everybody gets.
Yeah. So it's good to be back. And thanks for the wonderful welcome today. This is fantastic.
Pak Edi, boleh tanya nggak, Pak Edi? Beliau ini kan udah lama nih, Pak Edi.
Oke.
Ini ke Indonesianya kali keberapa kali, Pak Edi?
Kedua kali tadi. Ya, second time. Second time here.
Second time. Oke. Jadi saya akan juga ceritain sedikit nih, Pak Edi, mengenai beliau yang Mr. Craig dari the old school car audio.
Yeah, this is maybe your portfolio. Ya.
Ya, jadi beliau ini sudah buka tokonya ya di Australia, Pak ya?
Yes, in Australia.
Tempatnya ada di kota mana, Pak?
What city? Perth, right?
Perth.
Oke. Dan ini juga tokonya juga udah berjalan dari tahun 2017, Pak ya?
Okay, I will translate. Old school audio is already begin with 2017.
Something like that. It would have been 2017. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it really started as a hobby, probably 20 years ago. No, hang on, I have to add my age. Maybe 30 years ago. Yeah. So when I was a teenager.
Right?
You know, everyone starts. They play with speakers, and then the next thing you know, you're putting things into cars and blowing things up because you don't know what you're doing. And it started with that, and that was just one of those things that we did. You know, it was the passion, and then I always had it as this hobby.
Okay.
And then, and obviously my professional life being in the oil and gas industry and being an engineer and all that great knowledge I picked up feeding back into my hobby to try and improve it, all the learnings I had in other parts of my my life. Yeah. But 2017 is when I officially launched it as a business, and it's been an absolute roller coaster of a journey since then. So,
Okay. Jadi Mr. Craig itu udah main audio tuh mungkin dari muda ya. Jadi hobi, just a hobby, and then start the business professionally is 2017 ya. Actually he is also sebagai konsultan di oil and gas ya. Jadi dulu sering travel a lot. Jadi itu sebagai konsultannya juga.
Jadi tapi saya jadi penasaran, Pak Edi. Sebenarnya apa sih yang bikin Mr. Craig jadi hobi sama audio, Pak Edi?
Oke, nanti saya itu. Oke, why you interested in car audio?
Before the start business.
Yeah, before the start, right?
Wow, what a question.
Maybe you heard some of your friends' car and then
I'm going back to, I'm going to have this, my mother is listening, she's 83, she will have trauma because I remember fiddling with her car trying to, put different speakers in it and all this kind of thing, and it just started to say, I was into music, as a musician and just wanted it loud, and this was back in the day, at my high school years, where cars didn't have such complexity. You didn't have to interface. There was actually hardly any audio in cars, and there was maybe a simple radio.
Yeah.
So you'd want to put a cassette player in, or you want to put then CD players came out. Then you want a 6-stack CD player. So it was a great time because you will remember this, Eddie. You're adding all this extra stuff into the car that you didn't have before. Now, you obviously it's a very different ballgame. Yeah. You're integrating things. So there was that passion of, suddenly I can make a car that had no music in it, actually have music in it, and then have it loud, and then you take that where you want to go. So there's a lot in that, there's a lot when you have your own little personal space on wheels. Yes. With your music, it's a good feeling. Yeah.
You still remember your first system in your car?
I do. It was a 3-cylinder Daihatsu Charade.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a MTX Road Thunder 2.
Oh, that's loud.
12-inch stub. And I had MTX Road Thunder Pro, the red ones, in the front, kick panels. I made these little doors.
Yes.
And and 6x9s on the parcel shelf, as you do. And just no tuning, equalizer. And it was around that time that dance music started playing. So suddenly everyone's going, wow, subwoofers and dance music, this is new. So yeah, it was really. I was smiling because I think back to those times. Yeah. It was a really, really good time in car audio. It was just the boom years.
Jadi kenapa dia tertarik dengan audio? Karena pertama kali dia main dengan mobil, mobil pertamanya adalah Daihatsu Charade ya. Dia punya sistem dengan menggunakan subwoofer MTX, amplifier MTX, semua masih analog ya, equalizer analog, masih model. Jadi itu yang membuat dia tertarik dengan audio.
Bisa jadi tertarik. Yes. Dan kalian juga bisa lihat di Instagramnya ada Pak Edi.
Yes. Instagramnya Old School Car Audio, right?
Okay. Jadi kalian bisa cek di sana Old School Car Audio ya. Yeah. Di sana jadi nggak cuma hanya mobil ya Pak Edi ya. Yeah. Ada motor Harley juga bahkan ya. Yeah. Itu gimana sih Pak Edi, untuk boleh nggak ditanyain ke Mr. Craig-nya, apakah benar Pak Edi Mr. Craig ini nggak hanya mengerjakan banyak mobil klasik ya, atau mobil-mobil biasa juga, tapi Harley itu kenapa Mr. Craig itu mau ambil untuk upgrade audio di motor Harley?
Okay, he asking about they saw in the social media that you done a lot with the classic cars or Harley Davidson. Is it the market is in Australia is like that, or maybe you are preferred for classic car or Harley Davidson?
I do, and part of the business name Old School Car Audio was not necessarily about old things, but it just happens to tie in. Mainly, probably means more I'm old. It was more about old school values. So it really started with, when I started the business, is what are the values that I want to underpin the business. And so I really had to do a lot of deep thinking about values because they're important to me, core values to drive a business plan. So, collaboration with people, participating in the industry, rewarding the customer with great sound, and not make it about a car audio. To me is not interesting if you're just installing speakers and bits and pieces. For me, it's about the music, right? So you get to, when you work on different types of cars, in particular the older cars, you have so much more flexibility with what you can do. Because again, it goes back to those old days of you're not having to integrate, you can start afresh. So there's a lot of joy in doing that because you can then tailor a system a lot easier than trying to make something fit in a modern car. And with the motorbikes, that's just a whole new market that in America it's booming, in Australia not so much. So we decided to look at it and worked with Sound Digital and Ground Zero as supplying the products and making a solution for Harley to suit the Australian market. And that's been really successful. The guys that have the Harley Davidsons, the systems turn out to be extremely loud, and it's a whole different way of doing car audio. But yeah, that's I like it because it's different. It's anything that's different and challenging and time consuming. It doesn't sound good economically, but it actually is enjoyable.
That's why you call it bespoke, right?
Yes, that's right, bespoke. Yeah.
Oke, jadi value-nya itu old school audio bukan berarti dia hanya fokus pada mobil-mobil klasik ya, bukan hanya fokus pada perangkat audio yang vintage atau old school. Jadi itu mungkin menjadi satu value buat Craig ya, ingin memberikan hasil terbaik untuk sistem audio ya, walaupun namanya old school, tapi dia nggak fokus pada mobil vintage, dia juga fokus pada mobil baru ya, barang-barang produk baru seperti tadi ada sound digital Ground Zero, dan Harley Davidson itu juga merupakan market baru ya buat dia. Jadi dia bisa menghasilkan sound system yang bagus di sebuah motor Harley ya, dengan hasil yang bagus.
Oke. Dan untuk old school car audio sendiri Pak Edi ya, selain alasan yang tadi sudah Mr. Craig jelaskan, apa sih yang menginspirasi Mr. Craig untuk membangun old school car audio ini Pak Edi?
Okay, maybe it's about your old school car audio vision and mission in Australia, because some you already spoke before. He asking about what in the future, maybe your mission, vision, and then what your dream about your car audio.
Yeah, great question. And I think if you'd asked me this a few years ago, I'd have a different answer. So what I've found is I am not a great installer and I'm not a great fabricator. And this for me was always a passion.
Yes.
But when you have passion, you make up for that lack of talent at times, and you can surround yourselves with the right people. And so that's how I started off, getting the right people in, and through a lot of trial and error, learn what works, what doesn't work, and hone my own skills. And so over the last 6, 7, 8, 10 years, I've actually become reasonably proficient in fabricating, and I enjoy now so much more because I can do it. And I invested heavily in technology as well. So I've evolved to, you know, CNC machines, different types of lasers, 3D printers, and brought on people that really understand how that technology works, more so than me. So the vision changed, and it's really now focused on how can I create systems for people that when they leave the shop, they're going to have the best experience they have in-car audio. So we just draw the line at things now. We don't do basic systems. We won't do anything that's just an installation with speakers. We will always go that extra level, and sometimes at a price sacrifice. But the vision is to have people leaving so satisfied with what the work that we've done, and that's our bottom line, is that if people are not satisfied, well we would just never deliver a system that was like that.
Agree.
So for me, the vision is about, you know, bringing the best we can to somebody's car, and if they don't share that vision or they don't want something as good, that's okay. We aren't the shop necessarily for you then. So our customer base is quite narrow, actually. You know, it's not for everyone. But those that do want the experience of really, you know, high quality audio tuning in their car with all the custom fab, then definitely we're the place, because it's just the passion of the guys that work with me. We all want to see that customer leave with a big smile on their face, you know. It's a bit difficult to explain. I think the work sort of speaks for itself when you look at how we do things. And I was talking to you before, Eddie, about the cost of building some things. You know, we go to so much effort that we probably lose money on a lot of our jobs, but we are all very satisfied. So we go to work happy, we leave work happy, you know. We sometimes don't want to leave until, you know, I might get a call and say, hey, are you coming home? So,
Oke, jadi bisa diperpendek aja ya kalau misalnya itu. Jadi
good luck translating.
Jadi visi dan misinya sebenarnya actually we have the same vision and mission actually. Ya. Jadi visinya adalah memberikan hasil terbaik untuk sistem audio mobil yang akan dipercayakan kepada Craig ya. Jadi apabila seorang klien datang dia ingin mendapatkan hasil. Jadi kita nggak bisa dalam artian masang speaker audio itu hanya just take out the door trim and then put the speaker in and then finish. Sometimes we have to do and maybe we have to build another good quality spacer there, use the right combination bolt there, don't make the panel rattle everything, because we want the speaker that we already installed sound maximum, right? Jadi kita ingin memberikan hasil yang maksimal untuk sistem audio yang diberikan kepada customer. Jadi itu visionnya Craig adalah memberikan apa yang sebenarnya ini loh instalasi terbaik. Ya ini yang benar, doing the right thing for the customer will educate, and then customer will get, oh actually I can get this kind of music that I didn't heard before. And then they leave home and then they will sit in the car maybe 3 hours in the car. Oh, I like this sound. That's our satisfaction. Jadi itu adalah kepuasannya gitu loh. Jadi itu visi dan misinya. Jadi memberikan hasil yang terbaik. Jadi bukan hanya jualan audio, pasang, beres gitu, enggak. Jadi itu yang harus
hanya selling aja, tapi
not just selling. Not only service, but everything. You have to make one whole system that the best for the customers. Okay. That's it.
I'll share a little example. Sorry to interrupt. And this might help explain it. Some days where you feel like you're under time pressure to do something, you know, the customer, you've had the car a bit longer than what you said, the customer is, can I want my car back, you know? And some days I'll finish a day and I'll go, that wasn't my best, like it's functional, it's all going to be fine, it's safe, it looks good-ish. And I've gone home and I've come back the next day with a fresh mind and I've just taken it off and I've had to make something else again because it's just not, I can't look at it, you know, and knowing even if it's going to be all covered up in a door trim or something like that, that it's just a piece of fabrication that's not right. And Andy, who works with me from time to time, sometimes we both come in the next day and we'll just stand and look at something and go, that wasn't our best work, we need to take that off. And it'll never get to the customer. Yeah. And it is what it is, but I can't personally be satisfied knowing that something doesn't leave unless it's right.
Ya, jadi kadang-kadang namanya bespoke ya, kita ingin mendapatkan hasil, begitu kita lihat ini sesuatu yang nggak benar gitu ya, ya udah kita akan rubah lagi karena ini bukan kualitas yang terbaik yang kita bisa berikan kepada customer. Jadi kita begitu lihat ini ada cacat atau jelek, kita akan berusaha untuk perbaiki lagi biar hasilnya lebih bagus. Jadi sometimes when customers' car is trusted for us, but actually we make it like our own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If this is our own car, if we want to this quality or not, right? Yeah. Same like that. Gitu.
Dan Mr. Craig, apa aja sih sebenarnya Pak Edi untuk tantangannya untuk memasang bespoke ya di mobil dan motor Pak Edi?
Okay, maybe it's about challenges when you build car audio in car or motorcycles.
So cars first. There's always a challenge. The biggest challenge is the customer.
Yeah.
It's most customers come in with a little bit of knowledge.
Yes.
And you have to gauge how much do they know, how much do they really know what they want. Sometimes you just need to gently walk them through the process and show them examples, not so much of fabrication, but explain to them how sound works in a car, and it's not about the product.
Yes.
Some people come in, they want a specific product, and that might be fine, but I might want to suggest to them that that's not the best product for what you're telling me you want. So I look at what, let's call it the operational requirements of the sound system, what they're speaking to me and saying about what they want to hear, and I have to try to reverse engineer that and translate it back to them in a way that they understand little chunks. And then, so you might spend an hour talking with someone, just sort of turning some of their opinions around slowly, you know, just getting them across a few things, because you know that if they go down the path of what they wanted originally, it sonically it may not work, or it just would, fabrication nightmare. So you try and educate the client, and so that's the hardest part for me. And then it really comes down to what's the budget, because everyone has a budget, you know, and that's just life. You can't install $100,000 systems in everyone's car. But what's your budget and what car do they have?
Yeah.
So what's going to fit?
Yes.
So for me, you got to look at what's their requirements, what do they want out of the system, out of their music. Some people have hearing deficiencies as well, so we take that into consideration, strangely enough. What equipment can fit and what's the budget? And that, with those constraints, that actually narrows down usually into a small selection of product that you can then go, okay, this is what we think is going to work. And a lot of the old cars, 57 Chevys, what else? Valiant. You get no room for speakers.
No room for speakers.
And they're a classic car, and you don't want to chop things. You don't want to cut holes. Some people some of these cars, they're like original.
Yeah, original.
And you got to respect that. So if you're doing a custom kit panel, you've got no room for a speaker, so you have to then seek out a very shallow type of speaker. Okay, and then you've got to have a DSP with that.
Yes.
You've got to have a DSP to help lift that sound stage up and get the crossovers in right and EQ the car. Otherwise, it's going to sound like a sling speaker in a corner of the kit panel. So that's a challenge with the old cars. All right. With motorbikes, a whole different story. It's not about. I'm going to say this. It's not about sound quality so much. It's about output. You still want it to sound good, but you've got to. You think about it. You have a bike, in particular Harley Davidson. You have a noisy engine. You have a noisy exhaust, and when they're riding, they love to hear all that, and then they want the audio over the top. So that's a big challenge. And the factory systems that Harley make, even their upgraded systems and a lot of the plug-and-play stuff, is just not good enough because it's using conventional drivers, and they replace that and put a plug-and-play amp, and it all sounds a bit better, but you really need something that's 2 times the output. That doesn't sound like much, but when you double the sound output of something, what that takes in amplification. So then, where do you put the speakers? And so you got to make spaces. A lot of the stuff you can buy doesn't fit quite right. So you have to modify everything. But Sound Digital and Ground Zero make a great range of products for the Harleys in particular. And we've done a Triumph and an Indian. And it's a lot of modification to get it to sound right. But when you do, you still EQ the speakers. You put a bit of DSP, you're really only using the DSP to do EQ, and you don't have anything under 50 hertz. It's wasted energy because you don't hear that over the road noise. And then you just want that crystal clear output. It's got to be loud, and it can be a little harsh on the upper end because you're using a compression driver for the tweeters. But that's okay if they're using a closed helmet because the foam in the helmet will attenuate that. So in some respects, what you do is I wear earmuffs when I tune that. After I EQ, I put my earmuffs on to simulate like a helmet, and I might boost the frequencies a bit. When you take it off, it's like this. Whoa! But when they've got their helmet on, it sounds perfect. Not so perfect for everyone around. It's that loud. So they're the sort of things that we work with, the challenges.
Oke, jadi di luar dari itu Freddy, boleh nggak kita nggak usah nyebut spesifik ininya, cuman berapa sih biayanya untuk sekitar aja ya Freddy untuk memasang Bespoke di car audio, di old school car audio?
He asking you for your price range for Bespoke. Start from?
This is again. It's if we are doing just speakers and a head unit and just installing, you're suddenly competing with 90% of the other car audio shops, and we're not really into that. That's not for us. And our shop isn't designed to do that. We're not drive in, drive out. We're drive in, leave your car for a little while, like a couple of weeks in our bigger systems. And that gives us time to contemplate and really assess things and 3D scan parts and everything. What was the question? Just go back to the question.
The price range.
Oh, the price range, So I'll put it to you like this. If you have a car that you want a really nice sound system in, what's the most important thing to start with?
Speakers?
Apart from product?
Installation?
Yes. So it's all the installation that sits behind the speaker. So you can put a $50 speaker in a car and a $5,000 speaker in a car, but if you don't do the install right, they're both going to sound junk.
Yes.
But you can make a $50 speaker sound really, really good if you put it in a particular type of enclosure, or you have the right type of deadening around it, acoustic damping. So it's not about the product. So product costs are what they are. They're whatever you buy them at from a dealer, distributor, it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Where the effort needs to go in for me is, do you have enough electrical power as a foundation? If not, we need to double the batteries or replace. So typically I start as a minimum with a $400 spend for a battery, 80 amp hour AGM of whatever variety to fit. So then it's acoustic damping, and as a minimum you have to do front doors, firewall. Okay, so you might do 2 layers or more, the labor in that. You might, I'll hold that thought, and then you've got cabling.
Yeah.
And we only use copper cable. Yeah. We don't use copper-clad aluminium. Yeah. Right? A lot of people use aluminium cable. I keep banging on about this. It's 50% less conductive than copper. That's like huge.
Yes.
So you're starving all your components, right?
True.
But it's cheap.
Yes.
So we only use copper. So zero gauge copper is about $49 Aussie a metre retail. So you think about that, there's 6 metres of zero gauge, and you might have about 3-4 metres of multiple runs of 4 gauge. Then you've got copper speaker cable, $6 a metre. So before you even buy product, if you do sound deadening, electrical upgrade, even doing a earthing cable fusing, battery, we're at $3,000, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
And then there's product. Because there's no point putting in the nice set of speakers unless you do all this groundwork, right? It's going to sound like, rubbish.
Yeah.
So that would be a baseline. And again, how do you explain that to someone who hasn't quite, a lot of people don't understand this. So how do you got to gently explain that to people, to sort of say that if you want the best out of this system, these are the things to do.
Oke, jadi sebenarnya sama basically sama. Jadi untuk biaya, kalau kita bisa ngomong untuk bangun sistem audio itu, kita nggak bisa ngomong kita mulai dari speaker, amplifier, DSP ampli, subwoofer ya. Yang pasti adalah the most important thing itu pertama adalah instalasi. Ya, instalasinya harus dibenerin dulu, mulai dari power supply, battery, ya, super capacitor, everything, and then cable juga investasi yang bagus ya. Nggak usah overpriced cable juga ya, tapi I think matching price is okay. Jadi match your product and match your cable is okay, good. Jadi nggak boleh cheap cable, high speaker atau high DSP cannot. Jadi harus balance lah. Jadi buat mendapatkan hasil yang bagus. Jadi untuk sistem audio yang bagus itu overall harus dimulai dari pertama ya instalasi, peredaman, ya, battery, dan itu yang bisa membuat suatu sistem audio baru bagus. Jadi nanti setelah itu baru kita susun speaker apa yang kita gunakan, DSP. Jadi basically sama sih seperti apa yang kita lakukan juga di sini. Gitu. Dan
dari bertahun-tahun di Old Car Audio ini, Pak Edi, untuk Mr. Craig ini ada nggak sih yang paling memuaskan hatinya Mr. Craig ini selama menginstalasi di sana?
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
That's really easy. He says without giving a fast answer. There's so many rewarding parts. When you have something that started as a passion project and it becomes your full-time gig, right? I bounce out of bed to get to work. I'm out of bed and I'm into work as early as I can get to work, and I will stay there as long as I can. And I enjoy those days where you get lost in the creativity of something. A lot of it, this might sound a bit silly, but a lot of it to me is like art. When you look at a car and it's like painting a picture for someone. Everyone has a different vision, and putting that together with audio, and then also the custom panels and fabrication and how you want it to look. That's so rewarding for me, like to you feel fulfilled at the end of the day, even if it's a hard work. When something looks good, sounds great, you've created that, and even without customer feedback, that feeling of satisfaction you get is, it's fantastic. That keeps you alive, So the whole idea of the business is it's not about having a business, growing a business, selling the business to make money to retire. This for me, as you can see, because I'm not really a young man, this for me is about, it's a lifestyle. So the business will be what I want to be doing for as long as I can, because it fulfills me. And I think I've ticked the box there's not a lot of people that get to say they love going to work and doing what they love.
Jadi so we cannot call this a job, right? This is your hobby.
Yeah, and that's it. How's it a job? Well, some people enjoy their jobs. I don't know too many people. But I genuinely got to a point in life that I don't want to do things anymore that I don't enjoy. When you're younger, sometimes you just have to, right? Everyone has to live. You'll have to survive, and you do arrange it. And I do things now that I don't enjoy. But with this, I want to make it work, and I only want to do the things that I want to do. And when I made that decision then to turn away a lot of work, that was the best decision. Learning how to say no. Sorry, no, I don't want to do that, or we can't help you, in a very polite way. And then that really, you start doing the good stuff. It takes a while, but
Jadi sebenarnya kalau ini bisa dibilang Klik sangat menyukai lah. Itu bukan pekerjaan, jadi satu bukan pekerjaan karena ini merupakan hobinya, passionnya dia. Kadang-kadang it's not all about the money, right? Ya, jadi kepuasan.
If you want to make money, get out of car audio.
Jadi kepuasannya, seneng bisa melihat customer itu seneng, puas gitu ya. Apalagi kalau customernya enjoy banget dengan sound systemnya di mobil bisa berjam-jam, ya itu merupakan satu kepuasan batin buat Mr. Craig ya. Jadi there's a passion gitu loh. Jadi itu passionnya dia.
Tapi if this the passion, Pedi, apa pernah Mr. Craig ini merasa bosan nggak sih setiap atau kayak setiap hari selalu ada hal baru?
I don't think so. You never get tired of this, right? Never tired of car audio, right?
Well, yeah, you do some days, but you generally bounce back pretty quick. Yeah, it's everyone has a day of work where things don't go right, and so you just feel like switching the lights off and going home. But you wake up in the morning, you're okay again. That's just tiredness, and that happens in every job. But no, I don't think I'm sick of it. It's I'm at the moment working on my son's car. He's got his first car and putting a sound system in that, and that's in Saturday and Sunday. So that's after hours work, and there I am, doing that. So I do enjoy it. Yeah.
I think your son also like to doing that also.
I think it's a good thing. Like he's doing the work himself, and I'm sort of semi-supervising and do this. So he's learning. So there's a bit of a joy in that as well. But I don't think he understands quite what he's got himself into.
Jadi Pedi, saya juga penasaran. Banyak nggak sih, apa aja sih Pedi jenis-jenis sistem di mobil-mobil klasik? Karena kan di Old Car Audio kan banyak mobil klasik. Beda nggak sih sama mobil-mobil biasa atau?
Maybe this is talking about the system,
system.
I
think in the classic car, vintage cars, is it the same with the modern car?
Obviously not, no. And again, it comes down to owner's preference. So some owners want the car, their older cars, classic cars, customs, to look like original, so like a restoration. So in that regard, you have to use an original radio that then they might want refurbished. But you have to then tell them, look, I can refurbish that. And we've got some guys we send things off to who are specialists in, fixing up cassette decks and all that. But the sound quality you're going to get from that unit is going to be poor. Because of the age and the day, and even if you put new components in it, it's still technically some of it's an analog device that's putting out a reasonably poor signal. So how into your audio are you? That's the question. So again, it all comes back to these questions to the owner. What are you trying to get out of the car? Do you want to see speakers? So a lot of people they didn't realise that they can have really good sound and not see anything. So that's where we start to talk to them about, okay, we can match all the trim. We can do custom trim that looks exactly like it was originally. We can put like a 70s grill mesh in the kick panels to hide all the speakers. You'll think it looks like trim, so will everyone else, but behind that's a big three-way setup that's going to give you a massive sound stage up front, as opposed to just having a set of speakers bolted in the doors, right? They look ugly, or 6x9s on their old parcel shelf. And a lot of them don't want a visual screen on the dash because that takes away from the look and feel of that retro car. So we talk about high definition Bluetooth streaming direct to an amp, running it just off their phone. A lot of people didn't realise. Because a lot of those guys are older guys, right? So they haven't kept up with car audio. They don't care. They just want some music. So you go, okay, you can do this. And they go, yeah, I like that. That's generative response. Yeah. How much is that? So I want to get people away from cutting a hole in the dash and sticking something ugly that looks out of place in that. Yeah. So that's for me is I think key is getting that real out. And some customers they want a modern looking interior in an old car. So that's a whole different ballgame. Then you are doing things like tricky bits of vinyl and backlit LED or something like that, So it all comes down to the owner really and budget.
Oke, jadi perbedaannya kalau misalnya mobil vintage itu customer tetap ingin mempertahankan vintage looknya, terutama di interior ya. Jadi kalau head unitnya masih model lama gitu ya, tetap interiornya harus dipertahankan. Nggak mungkin mobilnya tahun 70-an terus kita ada full display head unit dengan floating design, kan nggak bagus gitu ya. Jadi harus menyesuaikan dengan tampilan interiornya juga yang vintage juga. Biasanya mobil-mobil klasik itu belum ada penempatan speaker yang support 6 by 5 inch or 6 inch. Usually still small speaker, 4 inch maybe in the dashboard. Ya, itu yang bagaimana caranya bisa membuat menjadi hasilnya lebih bagus, tapi tetap semua dipertahankan ya, tampilan looks interiornya tetap. Itu yang menjadi tantangan mobil klasik gitu.
Dan untuk teknologinya sendiri Pak Edi di car audio itu boleh diceritain nggak Pak Edi? Untuk minta tolong sama Mr. Frankie diceritain apa aja teknologi di sana, siapa tahu kan juga kita bisa belajar. We saw a lot of high-tech installation tools that you use. Can you describe what kind of tools that you use?
In terms of fabrication? Or
in terms of fabrication.
Yeah, so we've invested heavily in looking at how we can produce something to look like an original dash, for example. And the only way to do that is a gazillion hours of hand fabrication or 3D scan. And then look at the process to 3D printing it. So this was all new. So literally in 2022, I'd say I had about a year off to build the workshop. I really took just 12 months out to design and build my own facility the way I wanted it, with the machinery I wanted. So that was a full bed, CNC, automatic tool change. And then once we had that up and running, I then changed all the software out. So we learned one system and then went, need to improve, need to evolve. So we got rid of the standard software. We're now using Fusion 360 with a lot of different manufacturing add-ons. So Fusion 360, again, it's about, you can produce the model, but you still need to take that model and create a cut file from it and put a tool path on it for the CNC machine. So I had to learn all that. I have never used a CNC machine up before until 2022. I learned how to install it, maintain it, the software, made a lot of mistakes, broke a lot of tool bits, installed all the vacuum system, the dust extraction, and then we bought a fiber laser. And then I had to learn the software of a laser. I had to learn how it works, learn what does it do? How can we incorporate this technology? Some vinyls laser really well, and they create logos, so we could customize installations. During that process, we also learn that the fumes that come off vinyl when you laser it are very toxic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of lessons learned. So then we're installing ventilation systems. So there's this hidden cost as well that sits behind all this stuff. And it's not just the cost of the install, it's the auxiliary systems that sit behind it, the water cooling pumps, the vacuum pump, the dust extraction, the other air extraction, the fume extraction, I should say, the 3D printers that we've got. You need to build an enclosure to contain the heat. So there's a lot of hidden cost, and that takes up space as well. And then we invested in a CO2 laser, 130 watt CO2, so we can start cutting materials without using the CNC. We can laser cut things. So that's a small bed. That's only 900 by 1300. That allows us to do your little amp racks and things very quickly. And it's a different tech. Fiber laser is different to a CO2. And again, it's learning the difference, learning that software. So it's been a huge learning curve for me, like to just completely evolving, you know, and it's a painful process to learn all that, you know. All the tuning tools you would use in a modern car we have, so we obviously quality RTA, your scopes, oscilloscope, you know, all the different electronic tools for measuring signal. What else do we have tech-wise? That's about it. We just got a second printer which we're modifying, so we can print taller things, hopefully print sort of almost semi-A-pillars, if you like, you know, get up to 1 metre high. But so that's the tech, but there's, it doesn't replace the skills required you can scan something with a 3D scanner, and then you've got to model it, and that's great, but how do you build it? That's the question we were talking about. So there's all these hidden processes as well, so you still need to build it. So you still need to slice it and dice it in such a way that you can cut it and make it and then assemble it. And that is the journey that takes the most time to think about. So you still need all those skills of how you would have done it by hand, right? To reverse engineer it back into the stage where it's a model. So yeah, that's our tools.
Oke, jadi toolsnya banyak ya. Dia punya flatbed CNC router, terus dia punya UV laser juga, 3D scan, ya, printer. Jadi karena mungkin di Australia itu SDM-nya agak biasanya mereka harus cut cost di human labor, ya, because that's why they are changing to the machine. Jadi ganti dengan mesin, tapi tetap namanya manusia itu dibutuhkan pada saat prosesnya. Jadi proses desainnya, proses pemotongannya, proses assemblingnya, jadi tetap masih menggunakan tenaga kerja manusia di sana. Tapi ya untuk trennya mungkin nanti kita masih agak jauh ya. Jadi Indonesia masih agak jauh karena human labor kita masih banyak. Nanti mungkin 10 tahun lagi mungkin kita akan menggantikan ya. Jadi udah harus persiapan. Jadi untuk teknologi itu nanti bakal ada di workforce-nya untuk car audio.
Oke. Jadi kalau untuk soal tren ya Pak, kalau ngomongin soal tren itu kan pasti di Indonesia dan di Australia itu kan pasti beda ya.
Ya, kalau di tren Indonesia kan gede-gede gitu ya, macam-macam.
Ya. Kalau di Australia sendiri tren audio mobilnya tuh seperti apa Pak Edi?
Okay. Do you have popular trends for car audio in Australia?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question to answer because we aren't a shop that has high volume sales, so we can't measure a trend in a particular head unit or things like that. And a lot of our work is slow. It's slow project work, so we don't see what's selling a lot or anything. You know, we can't measure that, and that's not really our market. So difficult to say. From observation, talking with other people, integration is important. So any tool, any device that is being used to help integrate a aftermarket head unit into all the factory controls and maintaining the right signal out and not throwing the car into a mental breakdown. Those things, I think, is where I've seen a lot of advancement. There's a company that does produce, these really nice interfaces that are all now sort of semi-digital that you can program on a laptop. But yeah, look, it's not really our area, to be honest with you. Hard to answer.
Ya, mungkin kurang datanya ya buat memprediksi apa tren yang ada di Australia gitu.
Dan Mr. Greg sendiri punya nggak sih Pak Edi untuk prediksi untuk masa depannya nih? Mungkin 5 tahun ke depan mungkin ya untuk tren audio mobil dan mungkin ada motor juga nantinya depannya akan selalu masih hari-hari gitu kan?
Okay, maybe you have any prediction for the car audio and motorcycle market in Australia?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a prediction where there's going to be heaps more. What we're doing now will change, right? So what we did 5 years ago will be different to what we're doing now, and it's going to be the same going forward.
Yeah.
Technology is changing so rapidly in cars that car sound systems, it's so integrated now, right, that it's getting to a point where the average user is happy enough with what they have.
Yeah.
So they're not your market anymore because most of those people are happy. They don't need anything extra in the car. So you're still left with that group of people who really want something different. So in terms of the future, I think that group of people will become less and less as the technology gets better and better in cars and integration gets harder and harder. You're always going to have a very small, finite group of people that want aftermarket audio, but it will change in what you're delivering. Products will change, locations will change, speaker technology changes, and it's about evolving. You can't keep doing the same thing, right, again and again and again. So for us, being sort of over here, doing custom fab work, you kind of, you're not so much immune to that change, but you're always going to be doing people with classic cars, custom cars, hot rods, motorbikes, just anything different. And you pick up the odd modern car that someone wants something a bit crazy in. So we got enough. That's enough for us. That's for our business. That's not. We don't need to be constantly looking at a trend or what's new in the market or what's going to integrate with which car and all these things. That's everyone else's. That's what other people are doing.
Okay, jadi actually the concern is same with us. Jadi untuk ke future kan mungkin nanti akan banyak mobil-mobil yang punya integrasi dengan audio OEM-nya OEM-nya. Apalagi kemarin kita ada berbicara dengan salah satu engineer juga ya, nanti dia akan datang juga. Dia bilang nanti mungkin OEM fabrication will try to give option to the customers to what brand for the car audio, because they are looking for money about that also. So challenge buat kita aftermarket ya, nanti kedepannya kita juga harus berusaha untuk bagaimana meyakinkan customer gitu untuk merubah, menggantikan sistem audionya gitu loh. Jadi itu challenge not only in Australia, maybe all over the world, because technology is getting up ya kan, and then even now the different generation, Gen Z is very different, and then we're trying to build the market for that.
Oke. Dan Pak Edi, tadi kan selalu ngomongin this is the passion.
Yes, passion.
Sebenarnya apa sih mimpinya Mr. Greg ini di School Car Audio ini?
What are your dreams for car audio?
For the business, well, I could see myself on a nice, tropical island somewhere. No,
so everybody dreams.
Yeah, that's it. It's good. Somebody else's dream, maybe not my dream. I think that in some ways I am already living that dream.
Yeah.
That I have built a place that I love to go to. I love working with the people that are there. I do love our customer base as well, and so I go happy, I come home happy, and I'm very fulfilled. So for me, that dream is about maintaining it and growing it to how it grows will be interesting. I think it's more evolving than growing. Sometimes you want to grow this business, but actually what you end up doing is creating something that you're not passionate about anymore. So for me, it's constantly revisiting the vision, the goals. Is this where we want to be doing? And the day that it becomes no is the day it stops.
Okay.
You know, if this is not what I want to be doing anymore and it's not bringing me joy, I'm not going to be turning up and doing it, because you're not going to give your best work, right? So my goal is to build that dream as a lifestyle. I think I'm kind of there, and it's just about maintaining and honing over time.
Ya, jadi kalau misalnya mimpi ya dia ingin sampai tua sih sebenarnya kalau ngerjain audionya sampai tua ya, sampai dia bilang wah udahlah enough gitu, jadi baru nanti dia akan
jadi benar-benar sampai, tapi
ingin membangun apa namanya ya, mungkin suasana situasi yang dimana orang menyukai audio itu.
Ya. Dan untuk suka audio sendiri, Pak Edi, gimana sih caranya, atau ada nggak cara-caranya sendiri yang membuat suka audio ini selalu terdepan, Pak Edi?
Okay. Maybe we already talk about that. How do you plan to stay ahead of the curve, continue to innovate in ever-changing car audio landscape?
Yeah, a bit similar to, I guess, what we talked about before. Yeah. And I think taking into consideration that, one of the things that I am conscious of is knowing what I don't know. And sometimes that's a painful thing to find out. You think you know something, especially as you get older, right? Yeah. You like to think you know a lot of stuff. So I've got a couple of young guys that work for me, and they are very different in the way they think. They're very different in the way they operate, and what that can seem very confronting to someone my age, you know, that who's, you know, what, this young guy's got these crazy ideas, and no, that's not how we do it. But I have to be patient, I have to listen, and I find that when you invest the time and effort into mentoring some young guys and allowing them to, you know, teach you some things as well, and I realise just how little I know about some stuff, especially the modern technology. You think you know, you've done some hard yards and taught yourself, but so getting younger people in, and getting younger people in that know nothing about audio, I think is the other key, because sometimes you don't want to re-educate someone. Yeah. You want to get someone fresh perspective. So I'm always looking for that fresh input. So. And always getting challenged on where you're heading, what you're doing. I think actually that's a really solid way of continually reassessing where you are. Because if you keep doing the same thing again and again and again and again, it's just, you know, well, you've got to evolve, right?
Oke, jadi tadi penjelasannya adalah lebih banyak bekerja dengan anak-anak muda sekarang, karena perbedaan umur seperti kita dengan anak-anak muda itu kan perbedaan berpikirnya juga beda, terus challenge-nya juga nanti bakal ada banyak hal-hal modern yang kadang-kadang kita yang lebih tua ya, we are older. And then the way of thinking of the young guys very different. Jadi sangat berbeda cara berpikirnya. Terus kadang-kadang juga kita juga untuk challenge modern sekarang ya gayanya udah sangat-sangat berbeda, udah sangat dinamis.
Okay, Mr. Craig, the last question. Karena kan udah datang ke Cartens Audio Jakarta nih, pendapatnya gimana untuk Mr. Craig tadi? Cartens Audio Jakarta.
What do you think?
Udah datang ke sini, udah lihat dia.
Second time ya. Yeah. What do you think about the Cartens specifically, because this is your second time coming here, right?
Yeah, I'm excited because I was really looking forward to this trip, and when you said, I'll pick you up from the airport, you know, I'm like, let's get a day to snoop. I like seeing how, I really love the professionalism, and I see how you've evolved over 5 years as well. Because when I first came here, I was a bit like, wow, this is really different to how we do things, to a degree, right? Yeah, your labour force is huge compared to an audio shop in Australia. And you're also constrained with space, you know, just because of the nature of Jakarta, you know, let's face it. But yeah, I really enjoy looking at the way other people do things. So I like poking around, you know, I was looking at the cars. Oh, that's how they fabricated it. Oh, okay, you did that. Oh, I see the little LEDs around there. Okay, right, I wouldn't have done it like that. I would have done it like this. But you know, so my brain's constantly looking at all these things, and I love that. That's the best learning for me. And I think also the diversity of the cars that I see coming in here. You know, I mean, downstairs you've got the Bentley, you've got the EV down there, you've got the Merc four-wheel drive, and they've all got big systems in it. You know, we just don't see that in Australia. So I enjoy coming here because it's a good reality check of the differences between the markets, and I get to talk to Eddie and basically suck all his knowledge, right?
Both.
Yeah, and I just, it's really interesting. We're talking about DSPs earlier, you know, going to the showroom, looking at things. I see you've got a nice diffuser in the roof now. You know, it's just, I like the, it was nice to see the differences, but also just, it's a learning experience for me. So I'm going to go away from here today with a wealth of knowledge that, and it may not be something that we've specifically discussed, but it's what I've absorbed sort of visually, and it'll all sit there in my head, and I'll have ideas now. And in particular, your podcast set up here, where you've brought shame on me, because I look at my cameras and I think I need to significantly invest a little bit more money into my social media capturing. But and it's a really nice vibe here as well. I think we share very similar values. Yeah. So that for me is the big connection.
But we also like your country here.
Yeah, it's good.
And then maybe next time we bring all the team go to Perth to
no
visit.
problem. Yep. Just don't come in winter.
Yes. Jadi udah ini kedua kali ya datang ke Wari, dan menarik juga kalau kita bisa datang ke tempatnya. Old school audio in Perth, Australia ya. So you need to work more hard. If you want to go there, you need to work more hard.
Oke, jadi itu dia Pak Edi ya untuk bersama.
Oke, that's already the last segment, right?
Ya, kita sudah di segmen terakhir untuk bincang dengan Mr. Craig dari audio dari Australia ya Pak Edi.
Yes, thank you so much for coming here. It's our honor to have you here. Second time here.
Dan semoga doain kita juga bisa ke tempatnya Mr. Craig.
Yeah, if you guys want to go to Perth, you have to work hard and then get more, maybe 2 million subscribers, and then you can have money to go there.
Okay, Mr. Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you for coming too.
Oke, Kak, jangan lupa ya, tetap terus like, comment, dan subscribe channel YouTube CARTENS Audio.
Jangan lupa nanti Instagram Old School Car Audio, Instagram, and then you can put here. Instagram Old School Car Audio, YouTube also have. So many social media, and then if you want to learn a lot of things there, there's a lot of information.
Di sana Kak juga bisa belajar juga ya di Instagramnya, atau yang punya Harley Davidson.
Yes, if you want to see the good system car audio, good audio system in Harley Davidson, you can look at the Instagram.
Oke, itu ya di Kartens. Jangan lupa ya, tetap terus di channel YouTube CARTENS Audio Jakarta. Bye bye.